Hello, this is Melanie here from the Ninth Climax, and I'm here today to start what will be one of the first videos in our set reviews. And we're going to be starting to do these. We'll definitely be going back in time and doing some of the older series, but we're going to start off today with two newly released sets that just came out this weekend. So the first set I'm going to introduce today is Haruhi Suzumiya, and it had just released printed in English for the first time this past Friday. So of course, since then, there have been some interesting developments, and I'm going to talk about those. So what you can expect from this set, first of all, a little Weiss history. This set released back in 2009, and when Weiss had only been out at that point for as a game for 2 years. And originally, the game was designed to be played with you kind of mixing different animes a little bit, and they realized after a little while that just wasn't going to work, and so they then introduced what we're used to today, which is Neo Standard. And with Neo Standard, sets you play just Haruhi, the anime, combined together, and it really kind of hurts some older sets like Haruhi, like Little Busters, and Da Capo, that if they didn't have a big enough card pool, they suffered from something known as trait lock, where the traits were so varied that it was hard to pair together cards and get consistency and abilities to work for a more competitive deck. Haruhi, a little bit, suffers from that, in that it was one of the sets that released at the tail end of this whole standard environment. And the interesting thing is while the set is very flavorful, very much matches the anime, the struggle with this first booster will be, of course, aligning traits. So I am going to tell you which each card's traits are, so that when you're building and thinking about the set, you can be aware that cards can all end up in the same deck together, but may not be search targets or even salvage targets in some case, depending upon their trait abilities. Okay, so we're going to start off right at the beginning here with Kyon, who's the first double R of the set. He's a 0/0 2500. He has a traitless slot and is SOS Brigade, which is the trait you kind of want in this series as it stands right at the moment, with excluding chances at salvage from comeback triggers. The SOS Brigade trait is the most unifying to search for and get back to your hand easily. Okay, so he has the following ability. Pay one and put a brigade leader character from your stage into your clock, and that would be most of the Haruhi cards. A majority of them have brigade leader. Okay, and when he is placed from on stage from your hand, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to one card named Usual Haruhi and put it on any position of your deck. Shuffle your deck. So he essentially is a pay one and a clock, call to the field from deck, a 1/0. And I'm going to show you the 1/0 now. I'll come back to it later in serial number order. But just so you know, she's a 1/0 5000 and has the following ability. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may put this card into your memory. If you do so, at the beginning of your next draw phase, choose a card named Usual Haruhi in your memory and put it into any position in your stage. She has what we would refer to as the Time Machine Miku effect, where if she reverses something, she doesn't even need climax combo. You can send her a memory, and she comes back as a free attacker next turn. Kind of important in this deck because the series doesn't have a lot of free pluses to hand, yet it does want to Soul Rush a little bit, and that's one of the challenges of a Soul Rush deck, is keeping hand size to keep 3 characters attacking each turn. So she can help with that. She's got the traits Brigade Leader and SOS, so she synergizes really well if you're trying to build a Brigade Leader deck. So this card, he's good. I think the challenge is having the one stock and a Brigade Leader. You've got to have both. But it does help that the Brigade Leader card could keep you from getting stuck at level 0. It does help that if your opponent has put down either a big wall or has put down a lot of level reversers, that you can kind of capitalize on calling that 1/0. Plus, the Brainstorm in this deck are a little weird, so his ability to pull a damage out of the deck in the form of a character that's going to attack, reverse something, go to memory, come come back next turn guaranteed as an attacker for 1 cost, compared to some of the other stock costs in the series, is not bad at all. Okay. All right. Next double R is this 3-2, Santa Girl, Haruhi, and Kyon. Brigade Leader, SOS Brigade. So again, 2 big traits that we're looking for. She has the following ability, pay 5. This ability activates up to once per turn. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, if the number of your other SOS Brigade characters is 4 or more, you may pay the cost. If you do, stand this card. This card, when this card is frontal attacked, look at the top card of your deck and put it on the top of your deck or into your waiting room. So this is a pretty strong 3-2 even by today's standards. Yes, the restand costs 5, but I'm going to tell you right now that this ability when it first came out was pretty bonkers. And second of all, it doesn't require a climax combo. If you think about some of the other restanders that are in the English meta, at least right at this moment, I'm pretty sure most of them require a climax combo. The one coming to mind at the moment is the Love Live DX 3-2 of the Muse girls. But I will tell you that the fact that it doesn't require a climax combo and the 2 conditions on it. Now, I actually think the harder condition from playing a little bit with the set just briefly this weekend will be having 4 or more of the SOS Brigade characters on the field. The second ability, though, is still relevant. I actually have this ability on the 3-2 Chitoge from the Nisekoi Extra Booster, and I really like it. It is probably a little bit more beneficial in Nisekoi because the 3-2 can drop at level 2, but even at level 3, getting rid of a damage and throwing it into the waiting room, getting you that close to that much closer, 1 card closer to a cancel, isn't terrible. The other thing that I will mention with this card is there are ways to give it power, but they might seem a little underwhelming. So against sets like Attack on Titan and stuff, the reverse restand may or may not happen depending on what's going on their field. So especially blue Titans or blue-yellow Titans. All right, so this is Christmas Party, or Xmas Party as it's abbreviated on here, Kyon's sister. She has a bond for usual Kyon, which is Clock Bond. Put the top card of your library in clock. This is the usual Kyon card. I'll come back to him in serial number order. He has a way to be changed into at level 1, and he also has a climax combo with a wind trigger to search your deck for up to 1 SOS Brigade character when he attacks. It's kind of nice because you don't have to pay any stock, and that's really weird in this series not to have something that costs stock. The other thing that's cool about Kyon's sister, however, getting back to the original card here at question, is that she has a spammable brainstorm. Pay 1, reveal the top card of your deck, top 4 cards from your deck, and put them into waiting room. For each climax reveal, choose 1 of your characters with Kyon in the name, and that character gets +1 soul till the end of turn. So essentially for a Soul Rush deck, her brainstorm effect kind of fits. I will say this, she's the only cost 1 brainstorm we have at the moment. There's some really interesting brainstorm effects in Haruhi, even some negatives for hitting brainstorm. She has the traits no trait and animal though, so she's going to be really hard to pull out of your deck. She'll definitely have to be a card that you draw into and or salvage with a salvage trigger if you're running those. So just kind of keep that in mind if you do run her, that she won't be able to be searched. Okay, so next rare, Koizumi, Mystery Transfer Student. He is assist during your turn for all characters in front of this for 1,000 power. He also is kind of meant to be paired in a yellow deck that runs usual Kyon, because usual Kyon combos with, sorry, it's in the other stack, this wind trigger. So, but his second ability is to discard a card from your hand to the waiting room, and if your character's trigger track reveals a bounce trigger, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 SOS Brigade character, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. Honestly, the 1,000 power assist during your turn is not bad at all. It combos really well with some of the other yellow cards, and this set, the level 1 game and on, really even sometimes at level 0, just doesn't have a lot of power. That's not this set's gimmick in some cases. So his ability to power up a character, two characters for 1,000 power in front is good. Yes, his second ability is a chance, but if you think about it, it is a chance at a hand filter that pulls damage from your deck in a deck that doesn't have any really great plussing brainstorms that don't overcost stock. He also doesn't cost any stock, so, and he also has the SOS Brigade trait as well as Psychic ability, which goes with his being an Esper. So not a bad addition if you're running yellow, definitely worthy of consideration as a chance at a hand filter and as an assist. Alright, so the next card is this 1/1R. 5,500 power. Traits are Brigade Leader and SOS Brigade. So you can kind of see the yellow, for with the exception of the Brainstorm, is kind of sticking in the SOS Brigade traits, which is great. She has the following ability. At the beginning of your Encore step, if a card named Haruhi Suzumiya's Good News is in your climax area, you may put this card into your memory. If you do so, at the beginning of your next draw phase, choose a card named Unseen Trust, Haruhi and Kyon in your memory, put it onto any position of your stage, and that character gets 3,000 power until the end of next turn. This card is very, very good in my opinion for my recent playtesting. And the main reason why I'm going to argue that here, as I grab it from the right stack, is that it combos with a +2 soul. Haruhi turns the world upside down in the anime and doesn't know it. And so it's really funny, but the +2 souls are climax rares in this set. But you can crash with her, send her to memory. She comes back next turn, 3,000 power, making her an 8,500 attacker before any assists. And quite frankly, if you have like this in the back row or the Mikuru that I'm going to talk about a little later, she may even reverse something on your turn the first time. So it's pretty good value in the set for a 1/1 that comes back with some power if you can pull off the climax combo. I definitely think that this card is going to see a lot of play, at least until the extra booster comes out in May. And I think that for the English meta, because we like dealing lots of soul damage, that this combo is going to be a lot of fun. And the hope is that you rush your opponent so much that if they stick some extra damage in the open slot next turn, it's not going to be the end of the world. So I've already slightly introduced this card. This is the 2/18000 usual Kyon. When this attacks, if the card named Sleeping Beauty is in your climax area, search your deck for up to one SOS Brigade character, reveal it to your opponent, put it in your hand, then shuffle your deck. So he combos with the Wind Trigger. And I'm going to pull out another card with this. So this is the 1K1 Wind Trigger that he combos with. I actually think that he's probably really strong in a deck with the assist Koizumi. But I would say that you don't have to run those two together. But he also has a very interesting change that's non-common. It's a 1/1 change. Put this card into your clock at the beginning of your Encore step. If this card is rest, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose a card named Usual Kyon in your waiting room and put it on the stage position that this card was in. I am somewhat torn over this change. I definitely think there's a pretty good chance that some people will play test with it. My concern is he's going to be 8,000 power. He might be an 8,500 level 2, which, yeah, it's not bad. Some sets in English meta are not going to be able to get over this, but there are plenty of sets in the English meta that can get over this because we have a lot of very power-hungry level 1 sets. I'm thinking Sword Art Online, Soundless Voice, and some of the other variants of Project Diva. I am also thinking Titans. Even Shimikaze with the new Shimikaze Kai and Kantai can potentially get over this because you're going to change at the end of your Encore phase, which means he's got to sit on the turn and survive to get value out of this. I know he's a level 2, so he's not going to be easily level reversed, but there's a very high chance due to the lack of really great counter backups in this set that, you know, it's going to be a tough push to keep him on the field against some decks. And unfortunately, in the English meta, a lot of those decks are out. So honestly, I think you're probably better off not running the change or at least play test it and make your own decision about it. I think that for the most part, you're going to just run him as a free plus at level 2, put him down after refresh, and get your end game 3-2 SOS Brigade and Brigade Leader Haruhi back to hand. That being said, be careful with his search ability because not everything in this set that you will want to search for level 3 is SOS Brigade. And make sure you double check the traits of your deck and make sure that he's going to actually pull out what you need him to pull out. But still, I think a really strong card, and definitely take a look at that if you're building mostly a yellow deck and have the SOS Brigade trait. Alright, so the last rare for yellow is this 2/2 7500 Kyon in Yukata. He has SOS Brigade and Japanese Clothes. If the number of other SOS Brigade or Japanese Clothes characters is 3 or more, this card gets 1000 power, so he's a 2/2 8500, swings for 2 soul. He also has Hand Encore. You can discard a character card from hand to the waiting room. The deck is very stock hungry with some of its abilities. An 8500 2/2. Yes, it has Hand Encore. Yes, it's probably going to reverse some things if they left over level 1s on their field. But I think that the 2/1 Searcher Kyon, I think that maybe some of the other 2/1 options would be a little stronger here, especially since meeting that extra 1000 power requirement is going to be a bit of a stretch. There are some other Japanese Clothes cards in the set, but they are not as strong, I think, in some of the other colors. And I think swinging for 2 soul, you could just easily throw down one of the +2 souls and be good to go. Alright, heading on to uncommons here. So I'm going to kind of grab this stack and pull out the rest of the yellow cards. And we are going to be off to the races. So we have Sono Mori. Okay, she is a 3010 uncommon. Her trait is Maid. She does not have another trait. All of your Maid characters get 500 power global. Rest this card, choose one of your Maid characters, and that character gains 1000 power until end of turn. She's good if you're doing a Maid themed deck. She would be broken in Little Busters if you were running Stardust or Himuro and some of the Maid combo shenanigans with Maid Mio if you were running Standard. But as far as this set goes, the Maid trait is pretty rare, and I think that I think you'd be hard-pressed to do an all-Maid deck. So probably not going to end up in anything but a standard deck, but might end up in a funsies kind of Maid and some other trait combined deck. Swimsuit, Kyon's sister. When this is placed from hand to the stage, this card gets 1500 power till end of turn. So she's a 1/06 Kyon play. Not bad at all, especially for the fact that she's a 0 cost. And most of the 0 costers in this set typically sit below 1/0 vanilla range. We don't really have a 1/0 beater for any of the slots. She does have Hand Encore, which I don't know how useful that is. If you're really starved for an attacker, you might use it, but the fact is that her ability for power is a non-play ability. I think most of the time you wouldn't end up using that. Her traits are Animal and Swimsuit, however, so she would not be able to be searched out by any of the SOS Brigade traits or her brother, so just be aware of that. This is the 1/1 Kyon in the club room, and he's probably deleting off stuff off of Haruhi's computer in this scene. So basically, or setting up the website, I guess. He has the change of put this card in your clock to change into the 2/1. If this card is rested, you may pay the cost and pull out the 2/1 usual Kyon in your waiting room to this position on the stage that this one was in. I think he's definitely viable. You could definitely pull some kind of shenanigans where you side attack with this card and like the +2 soul combo out. But again, you have to have some way to defend him through your opponent's next turn, which there are ways in the deck. It's just that with some of the powers, like against Titans and blue and blue-yellow, and I'm also thinking Soundless Voice, his change target is going to get run over, and then you're stuck having dealt yourself a damage to change into something and it's not there, and you could have just paid the one stock the next turn and played it and gotten its full search benefits. So definitely think about playtesting it. I think against some sets like Nisekoi and some variants of Love Live, it might be okay, but I really think in most cases that 2-1-8000 is just going to get powered over. Itsuki Koizumi. I always refer to him as Koizumi, so his first name is going to throw me for a loop. So if I mispronounce that, I'm sorry. He's an 2/2/8000, 2 soul, psychic ability, and SOS Brigade character. During your turn, this card gets plus 500 for each of your other SOS Brigade characters. Very flavorful for a SOS Brigade deck. And when this attacks, if a card named Enclosed Space is in your climax area, you may choose one of your opponent's characters and return it to his or her hand. It's a free bounce. It is a 2/2, but he's going to be a 10k if you have a full field of SOS Brigade, which, again, if you're building the deck around that trait, you'll be pretty good with. He combos with a 1k1, and it has the Punish Burn. If damage dealt by this is canceled, deal another damage. Pull that out of the stack here. He combos with this 1k1. I really think he's actually probably an interesting addition. He probably can also take care of bouncing a troublesome back row, or can take care of bouncing a Titan wall. Yeah, it's going to get played the next turn. But he temporarily allows this deck to swing in for some extra soul damage, especially since a lot of your characters just aren't going to hit those wall power levels. And I think the 2/2-10k is, it's worth it. He's going to be on the field for one turn. Yes, on defense, he's not going to be as strong, but it's not a terrible thing. Next card, 2/1, 2500, 1 soul. Traits are alien and psychic ability, so be careful. Your SOS Brigade search is not going to pull this out of the deck. However, in the alien deck, you can pull this trait, this card out with the back row, which I'll introduce a little later. So this card is a 2500 character counter, and its second ability is put a card from your hand into your waiting room. When you use this card's backup, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 2 cards in your opponent's waiting room, return them to your opponent's deck, and shuffle his or her library. It's an interesting ability. It's a little lower on power as a counter, but if you know that your opponent is trying to salvage specific cards, or is going to draw phase change into something, or is going to be attempting to do some kind of shenanigans with their waiting room, you could potentially get 2 of their targets back into their deck. I mean, there's always the chance that they're going to cancel and back out again the next turn, but it is a chance that they won't. The deck that I'm particularly thinking this counter might be really good against is Modica, because, you have sometimes Gattaca in the, or Ultimate Monica, I'm sorry, in the waiting room, and they're trying to change into it. And if you send them back to the deck, yeah, they can brainstorm them out. Yes, they can trigger them and cancel them out, but you know what? There's a chance that they might not, and then you've kind of prevented that. A little lackluster on the power, but the ability is still really great. So that's the end of, the uncommons except for the events, which I'm kind of going through these in serial number order if you haven't already noticed, so get to that at the end. So starting on the commons, the first combo common we have is a 0/0 classmate Kunikita. Alarm. If this card is the top of your card of your clock, all of your characters with no traits get the following ability. Auto, pay 1. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 character with no traits, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. This would be great in Little Busters, especially with Kyosuke and Riki, because a lot of the times those cards don't have any traits. And so it's kind of funny I'm thinking of that. I'm sure there are not a lot of cards in this set with no traits at all. Himself being one. And I am not sure how useful this card will be in majority of builds. As we go through, I'll note if there are search targets for him. For his ability. So depending on what deck you're building, maybe, but even the Kyons aren't traitless. So And most of the characters have at least one or both trait slots filled. So interesting card, great for standard. I'm not so sure in a constructed build how powerful it would be. So Kion's Apron Look is next. During your turn, all of your other characters get plus 500 power. This is actually very useful in this deck because if you're mixing a lot of traits, a lot of the other globals are all trait-based, and those get pretty tied up really fast. So his global, yes, it's only on your turn, but honestly, most power levels are going to hit on your turn and in yellow, and it can power up everything. He also has an anti-brainstorm effect, which is when your opponent uses brainstorm, if a climax is put into the waiting room by that effect, choose one of your characters, and that character gets 2,000 power till end of turn, which, you know what? He's got an offensive ability that's pretty useful, and he also has a defensive ability. Being able to give a card like the 1/0 usual Haruhi an extra 2,000 power is not a bad thing. He also has the two traits Book and SOS Brigade. There are some other cards in the set that have Book, most notably level 3s, and some of the Nagato cards, but there are also other girls that have the Book trait. So really, really useful. He powers up everything on your turn and has a pretty nice, anti-brainstorm effect. Kozomi's Apron Look, he has Psychic Ability and Book as well, but not SOS Brigade. Remember, he can't be a search target. But mostly he's something that you just want to draw into because he is a 0/0, and his ability is, if you have a brigade leader character, this character gets 2,000 power. So conditional 3,500, 0/0. Honestly, that's the closest we get in this set. There are some other cards that hit 3,000 from abilities. There's one Mikuru card that stacks, but if you're looking for the 3,500 beater in yellow, pretty decent and will go a long way. And this is one of the few completely other traitless cards in the set, and this is Classmate Taniguchi. This is 0/0 2,500, and during your turn, this card gets 1,000 power. So he is also a 3,500, slightly easier to meet condition, no traits, but still going to be a 3,500 beater as well with the Koizumi. So if you're looking for a little bit more power-based level 0 game, those two cards definitely are worthy of consideration. And then we have our 3,000 vanilla, and that is Mikuru and Kion trying too hard. Has SOS Brigade, which is important. Also has Mikuru's trait, which is time, and that is also a point important for some of her cards. So that vanilla actually may be worth running, and in the case of the set, several of the vanillas might be worth running, just simply because they're a flat 3K. They're at that power level, and a lot of the other power level cards are all condition based. Dandy Butler Arakawa. He is a 1/0 4,500. When this character's trigger check, when your character's trigger check reveals climax, choose one of your characters, and that character gets 2,000 power until end of turn. So could give something an extra 2,000 power, but he is traitless and Butler. So he's not completely traitless, so he can't be searched out by the 0/0's effect, alarm effect, and I'm pretty sure he's the only Butler trait character in the set. So, and that trait is not very common. I would think the only set that I can think of in Japanese that has that Butler trait is Rewrite with the Chihaya deck. So, he's going to be not search outable, and really honestly his power up is always going to be a random chance. You may go through a game and not trigger any climaxes, or the only one you trigger is before you play him to the field. This is a 2/1 8,500 one soul vanilla, and it is Kion's sister and Asakura. Has the traits animal and alien, does not have SOS Brigade, cannot be searched by Kion's ability, is not traitless. So but in the alien deck, because it does have an alien trait, if you're running like a blue yellow alien combination, this card is an option. The only problem being that that Nagato already has a blue to 1,8,500 vanilla you'd be more likely to run, and it has the alien trait as well, and you wouldn't have to be splashing yellow to get it out into play. So I'm not sure how much play this card will see, but it is an option if you just want some power at level 2. Going through the events, so one of the things that makes this set very competitive is its events. They're all very flavorful. They all very, very much fit the anime. The first event is Camp Night. It's a 1/1. It says to reveal the top card of your deck. If that card is an SOS Brigade character, you may draw a card. If it is not revealed, the revealed card is returned to its original place. All of your SOS Brigade characters get +1 soul until end of turn. So this is literally like playing a climax, and you get a plus to hand, just no power benefit. So if you want to deal some extra soul damage, or you need to side to preserve some board on defense, then this event is pretty interesting. It's a chance at a plus to hand for 1, and it gives everybody +1 soul until end of turn. The only trouble with it is I think you're mainly going to be in a yellow-red kind of deck with some green maybe, because you're going to want everything to be SOS Brigade so that it can trigger. And the events getting added in do lessen the chance of that event becoming a plus to hand, but if you're okay with that and just want the soul, I think it's going to be a really great addition. So 2/1 event, way back on a rainy day, and it's got the counter fist. So if the number of characters in your center stage is 3 or more, this card cannot be played from your hand. So if you have a full center stage, you cannot use this card. So you can have at most 2 in your center stage, maybe only 1. And its effect is all of your characters get 2,500 power until end of turn. Not bad, especially if you're running it with some of the time walk shenanigans in this set. Typically your front row is not going to be full anyways, because those cards will be in memory waiting to come back next turn. I think this event, if it was a 1/1, would be really, really good, and just not even question putting it in most SOS Brigade decks. But I think that because it's a 2/1, I think that it just may not be as useful. I think it's definitely worth playtesting. I definitely think it's worth maybe a 2 of if you're not running the 1/1 camp event, because you don't want to water down your deck for that. But at the same time, I think this is really interesting, the fact that you get to power up 2 characters for 1 stock on a counter. The last event in yellow is this 2/2 Fumoff, I think is what it's pronounced as. And it literally states, choose one of your opponent's level 3 or lower characters in the center stage and put it into his or her stock. So for 2 stock, you give them a stock and you get rid of a problem. I'm thinking this might be a good way to deal with a Mikasa runner. I am thinking this might be a good way to deal with a 3/2 attack on Titan Wall, but keep in mind it won't kill the arms, because it says that the Colossal Titan has to go to the waiting room and for those to go away. So just be aware. But this set has very few ways to deal with walls, so this event is kind of worthy of consideration a little bit. The biggest, I think, con is that it's a cost 2, and this set is very stock heavy with not a lot of, you basically generate your stock the old-fashioned way with just attacking. There's no Madoka stock charge combo, and none of the climaxes, to my knowledge at this point, are stock charges, so either from top of deck or waiting room. So just be aware of that. But you know what? I think that this set doesn't have a lot of answers to big walls, and that's an answer. All right, so the climaxes, I've kind of already shown you these with their respective cards that they combo off of, but the climax rare in yellow is a +2 soul. That combos with the 1/1 rare time machine. This combos with the usual Kyon to search for an SOS Brigade character, and enclosed space combos with the 2/2 to go ahead and believe it's return something to hand. So really strong cards, and going on from there, I think going to be pretty much what you'd expect of triggers. No stock charge. Moving on to green. So start with rares first, and we're going to start off with, I think, one of the most interesting double Rs in the sets. set. So this is from another time Mikuru and Mikuru Adult. She has the traits Time and SOS Brigade, and having that SOS Brigade trait is very important. She is a 2/1 8,000 1 soul. When this card attacks, if a card named classified information is in your climax area until end of your opponent's next turn, your opponent cannot play event cards from hand. I am going to tell you right now that this card shuts down a lot of decks, and if you choose to attack with her, she has a change. I'm not so sure that you would run the change because, again, she's got to last through the next turn, but the change is definitely an option. She shuts down decks that are event-based. I am thinking of Nisekoi. I am thinking of a couple of decks like, for example, Attack on Titan with its runner event counter. I'm also thinking Compass. You want to make sure all 3 attacks are going through at level 3, and you don't want to deal with them playing Compass and getting a chance at a cancel. Guess what? Her attacking first with classified information in the climax zone is going to go ahead and be very, very powerful. Interestingly enough, for this set, she combos with a bag. And in a lot of sets, you know, bags are questionable sometimes. Yeah, they can potentially bury a climax in your stock, but in this deck, you pay out your stock so quickly, and you do need to stock charge if you want to restand with the 3/2 yellow Haruhi and Kion Christmas Party. I think that this actually may be a good pairing if you're running green-yellow. I think that being able to use her to shut off events. She also, if you think about it, shuts off Monika's Grief Seed and also Monika's Magical Girl pairs. I mean, this ability is super relevant. She's going to be a 9K on attack with Climax, and the next double R I go over is an assist for 1,500 in front. So she's going to be decently big. She's going to have a little bit of extra soul damage, and the trigger, honestly, you're probably going to end up paying the stock out really fast with this deck and most of its abilities, and with some of its costs. So I really don't think that the bag trigger in a deck that has very few ways to plus its stock for abilities are free, I really think that that's going to be pretty good. The next double R in green is this 2/2, 2 soul, Clumsy Girl Mikuru. She is Time and SOS Brigade again, so very easy to pull out of the deck with either the yellow build or we'll talk about the time. There's a time card that can pull out time trait. She's an assist of all of your characters in front of this get 1,500 power, which this is pretty important because if you bring back the 1/1 time machine, you can go ahead and play this the next turn if you're at level 2, and now that card is a 10k 1/1 for a turn. That's not bad at all, and it hits pretty decent power levels. Her second ability is when this card is placed from the stage to the stage from your hand, the number of your other time characters is 2 or more. You may put the top card of your deck into stock. So yes, she's a 2/2 assist, but she pays for herself if you have enough green out on the board. Make sure you have 2 other green characters, though, if you want to light that. Honestly, if you're not running enough Mikuru, though, that second ability is not going to be as relevant because not everything in the set has time. I'm thinking of a good example. The alternate version, updated version of this card is the 2/1 Ellie from Love Live that pays for itself on play if you have 4 or more music characters. It's a similar kind of effect. Yes, it's only 2, but you have to be running enough Mikuru characters to trigger that. Primp and Proper Tsuruya is a 0/0 1,500 with forehead and fang teeth, which are very fitting to her character. However, these 2 traits don't synergize again with a lot of the main traits in the series. So if the number of your other characters is 2 or less, this card gains 1,500 power. So it's a 3k vanilla. And it also has Hand Encore. So if you're running a mono green deck or mostly mono green deck, there aren't a ton of options to splash at level 0. This card isn't terrible. The Hand Encore isn't terrible if you're stuck with a hand of higher level cards and you know you need something to attack with next turn. But probably going to look at some other options in your deck just because it's missing that all-important SOS Brigade trait. Mikuru Asahina 00 rare 2000, 1 soul. Pay 2 at the beginning of your encore step. You may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your characters and this card and put them into your memory. At the beginning of your next draw phase, put those characters from your memory onto separate positions of your stage, and those characters get 1000 power until end of turn. It's not bad. If you need to pay out stock at level 0, yes, its ability is to stock, but this deck doesn't have a lot of free pluses to hand that because of the way the traits work. A lot of them cost a stock, and this time machine effect, it can save 2 attackers to come back out the next turn. And you could technically keep spamming this. Notice it doesn't say anything about this card being a rest or the other card being a rest, so you can crash for soul damage, send stuff to memory, and pull it back out. This card is, I don't think it, in most cases, is going to be as valuable at level 0. You're probably going to want to play this card at level 1 and save 2 level 1s. And it would be a nice security if you can't pull off the time machine combo another way. Yes, they come back with 1000 power, which isn't anything huge, but you know what? It's an added bonus. For 2 stock, it's a little pricey, but it also preserves hand. This is an interesting brainstorm. It is 2001 Soul Forehead and Fang Teeth Hot Springs Suruya. Brainstorm, pay 2, reveal 4 cards from the top of your deck and put them into your waiting room. For each climax revealed, choose one of your opponent's characters and that character gets minus 2000 power until end of turn. I actually think at level 0, even though its traits don't match, I really think if you're thinking about running the Nagato Aliens 1-0 book combo, that this might be a really good consideration at level 0. It can't be searched out by most of the card effects in this set, but the fact that it can give something minus 2000 power if you hit a climax is really good for the alien deck that has a level 1 combo that wants to reverse things for a plus. The downside, of course, is that this brainstorm costs 2 stock. And it also can't be run with some of the other anti-brainstorm effects that I'm going to show you and have shown you so far in this set. Well, maybe it can be because most of them say opponent, so I take that back. But I think that you'll have to decide how important having a brainstorm is in your deck, and I think you're going to have to decide, is the 2 stock for her ability worth it? Ability is really great. Not sure that you won't regret the 2 stock. So this 1-0 15k vanilla counter is also a pay 1, put this card into your clock, change into the 2-1 double R from another time Mikuru and Mikuru adult. If this card is rested, you may pay the cost at the beginning of your encore step and change into the 2-1. This change is really good. I think it's better than the 1-1 in a little ways because this is a vanilla counter. I want to point out, though, the 2 traits on this card are time and book. We do have a way to pull time characters out of the deck, and just be aware that it can't be searched by some of the other traits. I also think that it's, I guess, a nice backup if you have seen all the 2-1 double R's go to your waiting room, and that's the only way that it's going to come out. The downside is that it's not easily searchable, and again, you've got to defend that 2-1 8000 till the end of your opponent's next turn. But hopefully you have another one of these counters in your hand. It'll be a 9-5, maybe a 10k on defense, and will withstand most but the biggest wall power-up sets if you didn't send them to level 2 first. Last rare is Swimsuit Haruhi and Mikuru. It's Brigade Leader in time. Does not have SOS Brigade. So it has Haruhi's Brigade Leader trait in time. And it has the following ability. Put a time character from your stage into your waiting room. When this card attacks, if a card named Days with Haruhi Suzumiya is in your climax area, which is the climax square in green, the gold bar, okay, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 time character, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. This also has hand encore. It's a 1-1, 1 soul, 5000. It's a way to pull time characters in and out of your deck. If you really want to change into the 2/1 anti-event early, you can get the 1/0 counter. You can get some other useful cards. You can get your time assist. It is a hand filter. It does cost a stock to play the stage. I think that, and it also combos with the Gold Bar 1K1. I think it's got some good merits. I think that the one thing that'll turn off some people from this card is the fact that it does not have SOS Brigade. It is only more focused on a time trait deck. And I think the 1/1 for 5,000 is going to be a little underwhelming with the current power levels. I definitely don't think it's bad. I think that you just have to be playing a time deck to make the most value out of that card. Although it is a level 1 combo option if you wanted to play a time mixed SOS Brigade deck. So let's go through the green uncommons and commons. So starting off, we have a really great 1/0 for this deck. It's Primp and Proper Mikuru, who has Time and SOS Brigade, which those are the two big traits you need. All of your SOS Brigade characters get +1 level and +500 power. Global. Continuous. If you're running SOS Brigade, I think this assist definitely deserves a look. She also has the following ability. Put a card from your hand into your waiting room. When your opponent uses Brainstorm, if a climax is put into the waiting room by that effect, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your opponent's characters, and that character gets -2,000 power until end of turn. Gets rid of assists, gets rid of problems in the back row, gets rid of things in the front row before they can even attack in a few cases. If they were just going to crash in with some 0 they had up there, it is definitely going to make your opponent think twice about brainstorming. Yes, it is a minus to hand for its ability, but then again, climaxes hitting during brainstorm are a chance, and sometimes having a little bit of a threat in the back row is enough. This set doesn't hit really great power levels on defense, and giving something -2,000 power when they're trying to power up and take out a 2/1 that you just changed into is going to be really good. Be careful with comboing this card, though, a little bit. People are starting to run anti-change counters a little bit more now. Their Love Live and Nisekoi both have level 1 anti-change counters. This assist does make your entire field, if it's all level 1s, level 2s, and that is higher than your level. Yes, it gets around level reversers, but at the same time, it also can be anti-changed. So just kind of be aware of that and just know that which sets have that ability. The 1/0 Cat's Ear Tsuruya is Forehead and Animal, and she has the following ability. Pay 1 when your character's trigger check reveals a climax. If that card's trigger is a gold bag, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your opponent's characters, and that character gets -1,000 power until end of turn. She is also a pay 1 bond for Cat Ears Mikuru, which I'm going to show you. It's the uncommon Mikuru 3/2 in the set. So she does pay 1 to bond for that. Because now the Mikuru can be pulled out, and I'm going to talk about this assist in a little bit. It can be pulled out by the time assist because it has time. Its other trait is animal, though, so running the bond for it with the, I guess, just small chance of the gold bar trigger effect is not bad. It is a 1/0 3,000, and it cannot be searched out itself because it has Forehead and Animal trait. It's not bad. It's definitely worthy of consideration if you're wanting a mostly time-focused deck. This 1/1 7K vanilla beach volleyball Mikuru and Tsuruya is swimsuit and sports, not time trait. It would have been so good if it was time trait because it would have given us a nice power-up attacker for 1 stock in a set at 7K. And it just doesn't fit the traits. You can still run it in mono green, but it doesn't match time or SOS Brigade, so you're not going to be able to pull it out of the deck. The 2/2 uncommon Waitress Tsuruya, this card gets +500 for each of your other time characters. So if you're running a time-focused only deck, this is going to usually be a 9/5. And considering that the 2/2 assist Mikuru is 1,500 power in front, it's usually going to be bigger than that. So it's not actually a bad investment in stock. This card also has the following ability. When this card attacks, if a card named We're Raking It In is in your climax area, choose one of your opponent's characters, and that character gets minus X power until end of turn. X is equal to 1,000 multiplied by the number of time characters you have. Now, Waitress Tsuruya does not have time. Her traits are Forehead and Waitress on this card. So the most that climax combo is going to minus an opponent's character by is 4,000, which, you know what, in some cases is going to get rid of people, a few of people's back row assists. I'm actually thinking of Shiroe from Log Horizon. It can also get rid of, you know, just edge some power off of something so you can power over something. It's worthy of consideration. It combos with a 2K one, so plus 2,000 plus 1 soul, so you're going to be able to power this card up a little bit more, or another card up a little bit more, and then this is going to be attacking for a pretty decent amount too. And it is a replaced card in hand because the 2K1 does draw a card, which is not bad in a deck with that is going to struggle with keep being a maintaining hand every once in a while. So not bad. I think if you're running a mono time deck, and that's really where that card has to go, I think if you're running a mostly mono time deck, I think it's going to be good. This 3-2 is very interesting. It's a 3-2, 2 soul, 10k. The traits are Time and Animal. Cannot be searched out by SOS Brigade. Be careful there. This card, I'm sorry, the character facing this card gets minus 1 soul. Pay 1. When this card is placed on the stage from your hand, you may pay the cost. If you do, until the end of your opponent's next turn, your opponent cannot play climax cards from hand. Black Dress Hamura. Trying to think of some other climax combo level 3s. Chitoge, Diary. You know, there are so many cards that this card can just shut off your opponent's finish game. If you're facing red-yellow of this set, it'll shut off the Someday in the Rain gate combo that burns on attack. It will shut off countless other combos that people might be hoping to light. Akagi from Kantai, Yamato from Kantai, the Soryu in the new Kantai 2 set that stacks minus soul in front. It literally can shut down several decks end game. And it also can keep them for a turn from throwing down a climax and just trying to swing in for end game damage if they, you know, they don't have a lot of really powerful cards and they're just planning on crashing stuff. I think this card is going to be underestimated a little bit. If you're running a time deck, she's not going to be hard to pull out because of this 0-0 assist. And I think that it's definitely worthy of consideration if you're running enough time characters that running this assist makes sense. I think that this card is going to be underestimated. It shuts off a lot of end games or delays them for a turn. And in this set, that's kind of a big deal. Now, it doesn't shut down every deck's end game, but in certain matchups, I think it's going to be really strong. Assist. All of your other cards in front of this game 500 power. This is a 0-0-500 autograph session. Mikuru, Time, and Book are the traits, not SOS Brigade. Be careful, but it does have Book. She has the following ability. Put a climax from your hand into your waiting room and rest 2 of your characters. Search your deck for up to 1 time character, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So I'm going to talk about this card a little bit. I think if you want to run green-yellow, or green-red, and if you want to change into either the 2-1, I'm going to pull these out. If you want to change into the 2-1 Kyon, if you want to change into the From Another Time Mikuru and Mikuru Adult, you can do some serious shenanigans with this card. You can have this in your back row, and then you can have the changer for these 2 cards in the back row with it. You can rest this, get rid of an extra climax in your hand, pull out a time character like the 3-2, for example, for your late game, pull out something else. You can change. You now have that 2-1 in the back row. Yes, they can bounce it. Yeah, that's just going to be a thing, but they're not going to be able to power over these cards. They're going to sit back there till your next stand phase, and then you can move them forward for their effect. I think that if you're thinking about running these two cards, if you're thinking about running one of these two combos, I think if you're running enough time characters, this is actually, I think, going to be a really interesting option. And her ability gives you the ability to rest the back row and rest those changers and protect your change target till the end of the next turn. I think this is going to be a really good ability, especially since she has that shut off events combo, especially since it can pull out this 3-2 and it can pull out the 2-2 assist. It's really strong. No, it doesn't pull out everything in the deck, but quite frankly, when you're building with this set, because of the varied traits, you're not going to have cards that pull out every trait in the deck. Really, really good. It's a plus 500 in front assist. I think that it's going to be very, 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 very much see play. I also think that some of these zeros coming up are going to see some play too. So this SOS Brigade's mascot, Mikuru, Time, and Maid. She has the ability Auto. When another of your SOS Brigade characters is placed on the stage from your hand or memory until end of turn, that character gets plus 1,000 power and T. So, if this is sitting in your back row, and you pull out all the Time Walk characters, or if you pull out the Time Walk characters from the 0/0 Rares effect, guess what? You get to give them 1,000 power. And it's an auto ability. And it says when another of your SOS Brigade characters is placed on stage from your hand or memory, this ability stacks. You get to power up stuff, give it 1,000 power for everything that you play. It's Time and Maid, so it's one of the few maid trait. It fits her character because she's in her maid costume that Haruhi makes her dress up in the club room. But I think that this is, with all the time lock shenanigans, with the lack of power, I think if you're running time and yellow and an SOS Brigade focused deck, I think it's going to be really good. A lot of the characters that go to memory in this in the SOS Brigade deck are going to want to see this card on the field. I think it's a great splash if you're trying to incorporate green for the 2-1 Mikuru and the 2-2 assist. This 0/0 has an interesting ability. It has a change. Put this card into your clock at the beginning of your encore step. If this card is rested, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose a card named Mikuru from the future in your waiting room and put it into the stage position this card was in. You can combo this off of the 0/0 assist in the back row. The card that it changes into has an interesting shenanigan. I'm going to pull it out of order here. It changes into Mikuru from the future, and she has the following ability. If the number of cards in your stock is 5 or more, this card gets 1,000 power. Pay 1 when this card is put into your waiting room from the stage. You may pay the cost. If you do, choose a card named Waitress Mikuru in your waiting room. Put it on the stage position this card was in as rest. If you're forced to crash with this card, you can call this card to rest to defend and not leave another open hole the next turn. Neither are really huge power, but with some of the time lock shenanigans that the 0/2 coster can do, with some of the shenanigans of the maid card that I just showed you, this actually is an interesting combo, I think. This is an encore step change, so you're probably going to want to rest this in the back row. But if you're at level 0 and this is in your waiting room, it's definitely worthy of consideration. I think you need to be careful, though, with the 4,500 power, because at level 0, you're probably not going to have 5 stock unless you got stuck there. She's going to be at a very easy to power over range, so you probably want to rest her in the back row. All right. Moving on, we have a 0/0 3000 vanilla that has animal and SOS Brigade. Vanillas are very much a thing, guys, in the set. I think this one's really particularly good because it has the SOS Brigade trait. That might sound funny, but if you're looking for a green splash in the SOS Brigade deck, I think this may see some play because there are some of the other green level 0s, like I pointed out, don't have SOS Brigade. They don't all have it. 1/0, Mikuru from the future. Kind of already just went over this card. If you have if the number of your cards in stock is 5 or more, this card gets 1,000 power, and she can call the 0/0 to the field in her place. She only has the trait Time. She does not have SOS Brigade. so be aware that she can't be a search target. Because the set lacks a really strong brainstorm, I think that getting the target into waiting room may be a challenge, but sometimes it'll be there and sometimes it won't. 2-1-8000 vanilla, well, it's not a vanilla, I'm sorry. 2-1-8000 Xmas Party, Tsuruyu and Mikuru has time and forehead, so pretty good addition in the time deck. If the number of characters your opponent has is 4 or more, this card gets 1,000 power. Okay, so it's 2-1, 9k, conditional 9k. The condition is based on your opponent. They could play around it. I don't think most opponents will, because it's going to only just be a 9k. Does not have SOS Brigade, but does have time, so can be pulled out in the time deck. Finally, okay, so here's a vanilla. This is the, I knew there was one. 2-2, 9k, 2 soul, time, and made. Miracle Girl Mikuru, again, does not have SOS Brigade, has made. With some of the Mikuru cards, you could run the 1-0 uncommon assist, but really honestly, we've come across, I think, 3 of them at this point. So I guess splashing that 1-0 yellow in is not a bad idea, but it can't be searched out because it's not time-based. And I think the 0-0 and the 2-2 assist are probably likely more strong back row options, and the 1-0 assist, so I don't think you're going to go searching for that. 1-1 uncommon event. So again, some really flavorful events, and this one, the art is one of my favorites because this was just hilarious to watch in the opening of this anime. So Mikuru Beam. If you do not have a time character, this card cannot be played from your hand. Choose a character in your clock and return it to your hand. Choose one of your opponent's characters, and that character gets minus 1,000 power until end of turn. Put this card in your clock. So it's a clock fixer for 1. Pull something that you need out of your clock, and it's great because it's not trait restricted. I mean, you have to have a time character to play it, but you could get any trait character back. I think if you're running a mono green deck, I think that this is going to be a strong option. The minus 1,000 power is, you know what, it's decent. It's not terrible. It's not, I think, the best effect. I think it's definitely worthy of playtesting. It allows you to clock something you've been hanging on in your hand, get your clock draw 2, and then you can play the event and get what you clocked back and cycle that out for something else in your deck. She Came Freely, and this is a 1-4 event. Choose a level 2 or lower SOS Brigade character in your clock and put it on any position of your stage. Put this into your clock. 4 stock, and you can call something to the field, including the any of the SOS Brigade characters that are a little larger. Specifically made me thinking the 2-2 Koizumi in yellow. She can pull the red 2-2 Haruhi to the field early. Yeah, it's 4 stock, but and yes, it doesn't heal your clock, but I don't know, if you have the right hand setup and you have the climax combo for any of those cards, or if you have the Sleeping Beauty climax for the 2-1 Kyon, I think that those are all options. I think you're probably going to want to be able to pull out a 2-2, though. You could also pull out your 2-2 assist. I think that the stock cost is going to scare a lot of people away. I don't know that you run a lot of this card. It's definitely worthy of playtesting. I think because it's SOS Brigade character restricted, double check the traits of your deck to make sure that you're going to get value out of this. But it's going to definitely be something to playtest. Finally, last event is a 2-0 counter. Baseball tournament. Choose one of your characters, and that character gets plus X power until end of turn. X is equal to 500 multiplied by the number of cards in your stock. This is not a bad counter. It does not cost any stock, which is kind of a miracle in the set. And it is a decent counter. If you just went to level 2, you probably have 3, 4, 5 stock. And this is going to be a pretty hefty size counter. Yeah, at certain times in the game and in certain matches, it's not going to be the best, but you didn't pay any stock for it. It is an event, however, so it may not synergize with some builds really well. All right, so here are the green climaxes. We have the Gold Bar Days with Haruhi Suzumiya that combos with the 1-1. We have the classified information that combos with the 2-1. double R to shut off events, and we have the We're Raking It In 2K1 that combos with the 2-2 Waitress Surya for the time deck. So pretty basic, kind of what you would expect of green climaxes in a set. Not bad at all. All right, on to red. On to red. Hopefully, I'm trying to keep this at a good pace, so I apologize. But do want to take some time to go over these cards, because there we go. So the first double art is a 1-2, 5500 Xmas Party, Christmas Party, Haruhi and Kyon, Brigade Leader and SOS Brigade. All of your Brigade Leader characters get 1,000 power. She is a decent assist. Yes, she costs 2 stock. Yes, it's global. The stock cost is kind of reflective, I think, of the time period that the effect was given in. She's a great addition in a Haruhi waifu deck. Really, honestly, that's the deck where this assist would see the most play, I think. It's not going to help out any other build because the only character that has Brigade Leader is, of course, Haruhi. So it's not bad. It just lends itself to a certain deck. The other red double R is a 2-2 SOS Brigade Leader Haruhi. She has the traits Brigade Leader and SOS Brigade, which is important. She swings for 2 soul, 8,500 power. Pay 2 when a card named Birth of SOS Brigade is placed on your climax area. If this card is in your center stage, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 level 2 or lower SOS Brigade character, put it on any position of your stage, and shuffle your deck. Right now, the trouble with this card is the lack of targets that aren't climax combo targets themselves for her search ability. I think, honestly, thinking about the set and looking through it, I think that this was most meant to be paired with this 2-2. Because I think you definitely do want to be pulling out a 2-2 cost if you're going to pay 2 for the ability. It's Beach Volleyball Haruhi. The card gets plus 500 for each of your different trait characters. But she's a 5,000. She's swinging for 2 soul. You can power up something else with the climax, but you can't power up her because, well, you can choose to resolve the order effect. So I take that back. You could power this up with the 2K1, and I guess you have 2 pretty good sized characters attacking. She can pull out lots of things that have the SOS Brigade, but the Kyon, the Kozumi, the I'm also thinking Mukuru. She could also pull out the 2-2 Mukuru assist because it has SOS Brigade, so you could go get your assist. It is a plus to hand. The 2K1 replaces itself. It's not terrible. It's one of the SPs for the set, but I think the 2 stock is going to scare some people off, especially since she herself costs 2 stock to play as well. I think there are better ways probably that are a little bit more cost effective in a deck that has trouble generating a ton of stock to pull something to the field. And Haruhi Waifu, I think that she's definitely worth consideration. In some other builds, I definitely think is worth consideration. It's not a terrible card, but it's probably not the best value for your stock so close to level 3 when you're going to want to play 3, or you're going to want to play 5 to restand, or pay 2 for Trouble Girl Haruhi or some of those other characters. So we have a 0-0 bond for Kyon and Yukata, which is a bond for the 2-2. And she is a 500 Brigade Leader in Japanese clothes. She does not have SOS Brigade. She has the bond for Kyon and Yukata, which is a clock bond. And then she has pay 1. Choose one of your Japanese closed characters, and that character gets 1,000 power until end of turn. So she can power up the 2-2 Japanese closed Kyon. There's some other Japanese closed characters in the set, but it does cost a stock. It is a clock bond, which is kind of nice to get back that 2-2. I'm not entirely sure though that the bond is worth it though on that 2-2. I think there are better cards with climax combos that are a little bit more meaningful that you would run at level 2 other than that. All right, so this is one amazing card. This is Hot Springs Haruhi. She's a 0-0 1000 Brigade Brigade Leader SOS Brigade Really strong card. She has the following ability. When this card becomes reversed, if this card's battle opponent is level 0 or lower, you may reverse that character. When this card becomes reversed in battle, choose one of your other SOS Brigade characters, and that character gets 1500 power until end of turn. This is a free power up that is good all game. It may not always level reverse something, but it is going to give something 1500 power if you attack with it first. It is an excellent power up for the SOS Brigade deck, plus fits your level reverser role, plus can splash red in very easily. This is just going to be a great card. I think you're going to see it splashed into pretty much any build you can imagine that is running a majority SOS Brigade trait. It is trait locked, however. Be careful. In the time deck with Mikuru, you may still splash it in, but remember, not all of Mikuru's attackers have that SOS Brigade trait, so you're going to want to be careful. Next card is this 00 2500 Brigade Leader SOS Brigade, Center of the World Haruhi, and Puny Haruhi. I'm guessing Puny was, I might have to go check the original Japanese. Might have been meant to be chibi, but it's really cute art. Continuing, if this card is in the middle position of your center stage, this card gets 1000 power. So it is a, if it's middle position of your center stage, it is a 3500 beater. Not bad. It's conditional. It's continuous, but it's a little bit more easily reversed if it's in the center. So I think it depends on your playstyle. I think that maybe some of, but it, you know, it can also, it has the right traits. I think it's going to be splashable in a lot of decks. I talked about this 1-0 before because we had the double R change into it from the 0-0 Kyan. This is 1-0 usual Haruhi, Brigade Leader SOS Brigade. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may put this card into your memory. If you do, at the beginning of your next draw phase, choose a card named Usual Haruhi in your memory and put it on any position of your stage. I think it's a really decent card. It's got a change. I'm not sure that you're always going to want to use the change, but because you have to sacrifice a Brigade Leader on the field. But I think that as just an attacker that's going to guarantee come back the next turn and attack. If you go to level 1 first and they left level reversers and stuff on the field, I think this is a good attack target and a good just 1-0 that's going to come back and do some extra damage and build some more stock next turn. I think that it helps preserve hand in the set, and I think that it's really good. It is the other SP in the set as well. Just so you know, both the SPs are Haruhi. I think this card is really good. I think it's going to see play. Finally, we have this 2-2 5000 beach volleyball Haruhi, Brigade Leader, and Sports. She does not have SOS Brigade trait, so I guess I'm wrong. She cannot be pulled out by that 2-2 RR that I showed you earlier. I apologize for missaying that. I'm really not sure what that 2-2 is supposed to pull out that doesn't combo with the climax. Anyway, moving on. I guess maybe with that change into Trouble Girl or something else, but wow, okay, I apologize for my mistake. This card gets plus 500 power for each different trait on your characters. In a deck that runs as many traits as you've seen so far, and yes, there are more, this is actually worthy of consideration because you get to count all the traits and it gets pretty big. I think, though, its lack of consistency to be pulled out of the deck is a little scary. I think that there are probably stronger options. So the next up is a 0-0 1000 Glasses and Book. Does not have Brigade Leader, does not have SOS Brigade. When another of your book characters becomes reversed in battle, choose one of your characters and that character gets 1000 power until the end of turn. Pay 1 when your opponent uses Brainstorm. If a climax is put into your waiting room by that effect, you may pay the cost. If you do, deal 1 damage to your opponent. This damage may be canceled. This is a fun card. Interestingly enough, there are 2 level 3s with the book trait. There are some level 0s with the book trait. This revenge trigger is actually worthy considering building around. I think the challenge with this card will be pulling it out of your deck. It's definitely going to have to be drawn out most of the time because the 2 traits are not synergistic with the search options and will lessen some effect abilities. So And being able to pay 1 and deal a damage to your opponent for using Brainstorm, that's actually kind of fun. All right. Primp and Proper Haruhi is a 0/0/2000 with Brigade Leader and SOS Brigade. Yay. She has the following ability. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, choose one of your other characters, rest it, and move it to an open position of your backstage. This is really interesting. I'll be honest, it's probably a little bit more useful at level 0 because she is only a 2000 power base, but if you have a way to power her up, either by like the Time Machine Mikuru 0/0's effect or a 2k1, if you're running that in that deck, or 1k1, and some of the assist options, I think that this actually could be interesting. If you had the Funny enough, if you go to level 1 first and you have the 1/0 Mikuru that gives +1 level and 500 power global to all SOS Brigade, I actually think that you could save a usual Haruhi that had crashed or something else that maybe crashed to just attack the next turn. I think it's definitely worth playtesting and it's definitely worth consideration. Also, another thing that you can do is you can combo this with the 0/0 reverser. It crashes into something, level reverses it. You give this card 1500 power. This card attacks, reverses something. You rest the level reverser and move it to your back row, and you can just do shenanigans. I think those two cards are going to be really strong together if you're running a lot of red. Again, have the right traits. Again, a great way to preserve hand. I think definitely worthy of consideration. 1/0, 4500. Brigade Leader SOS Brigade has Hand Encore and has a really crazy trait. Pay 6 stock. When this card is placed on the stage from your hand, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose an alien character, a time character, and a psychic ability character in your waiting room and return them to your hand. This basically salvages 1 Mikuru card of your choice with Time, 1 Nagato card of your choice with Alien, and 1 Psychic Ability character, which is Koizumi, and returns them to your hand. So it's 6 stock for a +3 that gets around most anti-salvage on the English side of the game. This is Haruhi Hates Boredom. It's a lot of stock. But late in the game, if you are really hurting for hand size and you need attackers, you can grab some costless stuff just to attack with. It's not a bad 2 of emergency card. It has the right traits. I think that there are other ways in the SOS Brigade deck to more consistently plus hand if you just pay attention to the traits. I think if you're trying to mix a bunch of abilities though, and running a yellow 4-color deck, yeah, it would almost be 4-color. I think this is an option. I don't know that a lot of decks will want this tech, but I think that it is worthy of consideration. Uncommon, 1/0, 5500, Haruhi and Mikuru and Yukata. Has Japanese clothes, has SOS Brigade, so you can power it up with the 0/0 Bond Assist. It's an interesting card art. It is basically the usual of what we've come to expect of Haruhi driving torturing Mikuru. But if you're running a Japanese clothes deck, it is definitely a level 1 option and definitely worth consideration. Alright, so we have another 1/1 that combos with a +2 soul. That is the Climax Rare for red. I love how the +2 souls are Climax Rares. We have another one too. Alright, so this is 1/1 5500 Brigade Leader and Sweets. No SOS Brigade, so be careful. Happy Valentine Haruhi. When this card attacks, if Happy Valentine is in your climax area, choose one of your other characters and that character gets the following ability until end of turn. When this character's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may choose a character in your waiting room and return it to your hand. It is not trait restricted. Also, it gives the ability to another card. So if you time machine back like the 1/1 Unseen Trust Kyon and Haruhi, or if you time machine something else back and it got power, or you had a way to power it up, or you had a change and you don't have the right climax combo, this is an option to give it that ability, attack with it last, and it gets around Kantai's anti-salvage. because it's when their battle opponent becomes reversed. If you attack with that card last, you've already done all your soul damage for the turn. I think that that ability is interesting. I think the conflict comes at this point is choosing climax combos and which climax combos you want to run. I think the challenge will be kind of choosing which of those. So I think it's an interesting card. I think it's definitely worthy of consideration. The fact that it combos with +2 soul is really cool because you can crash in and do a lot of soul damage with it. But a consideration nonetheless. All right. Starting on the commons. We start off strong with a brigade leader, SOS Brigade, flowers in both hands, Haruhi. She's an assist in front to all of your characters with +500 power, and she has the following ability. Pay 1. When your character's trigger check reveals a climax, if that card's trigger is a gate, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose a level 1 or lower character in your opponent's center stage and put it into his or her waiting room. Really good if you're running the gate trigger, which when I go over that card, most people will definitely consider running. It's got an interesting effect that can allow you to swing for some extra soul damage and save a character. It is, of course, a chance, and you can choose not to pay the cost. Keep in mind, though, if you pay 1 and get rid of a character that has some kind of hand or clock encore, they have the ability to pay the Encore rule cost and get it back. They can even pay Auto Encore Rule 3 and get it back. But it may lose markers or it may lose something else that was powering it up, which is helpful. Not a bad ability. It's a chance. It's a great +500 in front assist and has 2 traits that we're looking for on cards. Another brigade leader, an SOS Brigade. It's 3000 vanilla. There's a foil variant in the trial deck as one of the front cards. I think that, again, like I said about the other vanillas in the set, because the traits match, they're definitely worth consideration of running, whereas in other sets you might be looking for something else. I think that the art on this one's pretty cool, and that's an option. This is Brigade Leader and Music, so it does not have SOS Brigade. This is also in the trial deck. It is a 1/1 2000 backup, character backup counter. It is vocalist Haruhi. So if you're looking for a good power-up counter and you don't mind paying 1 stock, not a bad option. There is, of course, the 15k vanilla with the Mikuru time. So if you're running that deck, you're probably going to run that one instead, but an option. All right, so I'm going to pull out a couple of cards here because they're all connected to this one. And we're off. So, not sure if the change is in the trial deck, but this is level 3 that is featured in the trial deck, and this climax is also. Starting with the 2/1 here, this is 2/1 6500 Haruhi's Victory Declaration. She has Brigade Leader in Japanese Closed, so if you're running Japanese Closed deck, and it's something that can be powered up with the Bonder if you want to pay 1. She has 2 abilities. She has a Encore Phase Change. Pay 1, put this card into your clock. If this card is rest, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose a card named Trouble Girl Haruhi in your waiting room and put it onto the stage position this card was on. She can't be searched out in the time deck, but if you're running time in red, green and red, you could potentially rest it in the back row. And Trouble Girl Haruhi heals on play, so the put this in clock is not so bad. It's kind of like the Katori wall in School Idol Festival Volume 2 for Love Live, in that, yeah, you put this in clock, but you get to heal off the damage. So unless you're 3/6, the change is going to be okay, and quite frankly, if you're 3/6, you're not going to be paying the change cost most likely anyway. Basically, it is a change into the 3/2 Haruhi. The 3/2 Haruhi heals on play and has a climax combo with this gate when she attacks, if the climax is in the climax zone, you may deal 1 damage to your opponent. That damage may be canceled. The one thing to be careful about with this card, though, is its traits are Brigade Leader and Book, not SOS Brigade. So you can't pull it out of deck with some of the search options available. So the change can't be pulled out either. So, yeah, that's the reality of this set. So, it can be salvaged, though, by some of the other effects and some of the book effects, but just kind of be aware of that's the case. Going back to the 2-1, it has a second ability. The second ability is Brainstorm, pay 3. Yes, you heard right, pay 3. It has the following ability: reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck and put them into your waiting room. Choose a level X or lower brigade leader, in your waiting room and put it on any position of your stage. X is equal to the number of brigade leader characters revealed. Yeah, it's 3 stock, and it is a chance. But if those cards, are all brigade leaders and they equal all 3, yeah, you could pull a level 3 onto your field for free. It's very chancy though, for the fact that it costs 3 stock. I think that there are probably better things you could run. Also, Trouble Girl Haruhi, if you're not resting her in the back row, is going to have to be protected until the end of your next turn. If it's in the front row, in most cases, unless she's a really big problem, they're going to probably just power over her. They'll be unlikely to bounce it because they don't want you to get another heal off of it. I am not sure what to think. I think that the change is definitely an option, especially since the 3-2 of the 3-2's traits, it's not really searchable. Not sure where the Brainstorm would be relevant unless you had a ton of stock and could scry and set up things. That's not really the case though. We get a 2-1-8,000 cat ears Haruhi, who has Brigade Leader and Animal, not SOS Brigade. If this card is in the middle position of your center stage, it gains 1,000 power, so it's a 9k if it's in the center position of your stage. Not bad. Swings for 1 soul. Doesn't have SOS Brigade, but that's not the end of the world. 2-2. Party Popper Haruhi is a 2-2 9k 2 soul Brigade Leader SOS Brigade vanilla. She's a target to pull out early with the other 2-2 RR climax combo. She has the right traits, and she actually isn't a bad thought or an addition in a mostly SOS Brigade deck for some power and attack at level 2, if that's what you're looking for. Kind of already went over this card, but I'll touch on it again. It's the trial deck level 3, Trouble Girl Haruhi, combos with the 1k1 gate. Probably going to be running the 0/0 plus 500 in front assist. Also with it, with the gate that you, with the pay 1, get rid of something if the gate triggers. She has Brigade Leader and Book, so be careful. Your SOS Brigade searches cannot pull her from the deck. But she does heal on play, and she does have a finished combo to deal damage if this climax is in the climax zone when she attacks. So she is definitely, for a common level 3, very, very good. If for trial deck for level 3, she's phenomenal. I think that this card is going to be considered for a lot of builds. I think the only challenge of playing this card is you've got to watch your traits. You just got to realize that it's not going to get pulled out of the deck by the SOS Brigade searchers. So it's something that you kind of have to hang on to in hand as a chance to get. All right, so I'm going to go over the red events. And we only have 2 of them, and I'll explain why in a moment. So the first one is the 1-3, touring the city, Haruhi with the straws. Put the top 5 cards of your deck face down into your memory. Your opponent looks at those cards and separates them into stacks of 2 cards and 3 cards. Choose 1 face down stack from amongst them and put them into your hand. Put the rest into your deck and shuffle your deck. This is a really fun card. It's definitely got the choosing straws effect. It can backfire terribly. It could be okay. If you know you're out a lot of climaxes, I would say that this card isn't a bad thing. Pay 3 stock, maybe clean out some stock, get hopefully 3 cards back in hand, 2 cards back in hand to make up for it. The others get returned to your deck. I guess you just hope you don't flip over a bunch of climaxes, because if your opponent puts them all in 1 stack, there's a chance you take the entire stack of climaxes and shuffle back into damage. You know, it's a chance. It's a fun card. It's very flavorful. It fits the anime. The 3 stock's gonna scare some people away. Also, the fact that you could pick the wrong stack and just totally get weissed is hilarious. But it's very flavorful. It's a fun card. I think it's actually worthy of playtesting, believe it or not. If you know you're out of your climaxes, I'd say go for it. I think, okay, so wait a minute, I'm forgetting something. So before I present the next event, there is another event in the original Japanese set that is currently on the Japanese banned list as a banned card that you cannot run in Haruhi. It's a 2-1 event called World of Faded Colors. Due to some cards that were printed in the extra booster in Haruhi, the card was a influential piece in a kind of broken heel loop with the alien build and with some other deck builds. Bushiroad and the English side of the game decided, because this card is completely banned in Japanese, to not print it in this set. So serial number 71 has been skipped. And I will say this, I know some people are going to be pretty upset. I'm sure there was probably a case for them to redo the card, but in the past, when Bushiroad has redone cards for the English meta, it sometimes has hurt their sales. It caused a negative reflection on the series, and a lot of people have backed out. By the same regard, there are probably some people that are going to end up backing out of this set because that card was not printed. However, on release day yesterday, we got an announcement with Bushiroad's plans for English releases through May, and discovered that the May release in English is the Haruhi Extra Booster, which has some really powerful cards in it that people are going to want to it kind of evens out the traits a little bit, and it gives us some upgraded options for the alien deck, which is a lot of fun to play. And honestly, so it's frustrating we didn't get like a rotted 2-1 event maybe, but at the same time it's also understandable because they don't want to bring back that broken heel loop. There are a lot of arguments that the one thing that event did have was it had a salvage ability that wasn't trait based, which for this set is a really big deal because there's a lot of traits to balance deal with. You've already seen that. So I guess a generic pay 1, salvage 2, discard 1, maybe even send that event to memory would have been great. It's not worth lamenting over. I think when we get the Extra Booster in May, I think it's going to make up for the fact that they didn't print that card. I'll talk about what they did at near the end of this set review to go over that. All right, so the last 1-1 event is actually kind of cool. I'm not interested in ordinary humans. It's a 1-1. If you do not have a brigade leader character, this card cannot be played from your hand. Search your deck for up to 2 SOS brigade characters, reveal them to your opponent, put them into your hand, shuffle your deck, choose a card in your hand, and put it into your waiting room. So I actually believe this card is the reason why they didn't give us an eroded 2-1 World of Faded Colors. I think that this card is pretty strong if you're running all SOS Brigade. She can pull 2 damage from your deck. And this is kind of relevant because we don't have a really great brainstorm option in some cases. And I think that having this event kind of makes up for that. It is a hand filter. It is a break even because you have to play the event and you have to ditch one from hand. But you can ditch a 0 or something you don't need for 2 cards that you need later. It can also search out the 3/2 yellow end game card. It cannot search out the Trouble Girl Haruhi. I don't think that's so much of a big deal though, because you can pull out your assist, you can pull out the 2-1 Searcher Kyon, you can pull out the 2-1 Mikuru, you can pull out Koizumi, you can pull out so many things with this. I think that this is, if you're building SOS Brigade, I think this card is worthy of playtesting a little bit more maybe than the 1-3 event. All right. So just a quick recap, climaxes. So the climax rare is the +2 soul that gives a character on attack with the 1/1 uncommon, they salvage something on reverse. There is the 2K one that combos with the 2/2 to pull something level 2 or lower onto the stage from deck for 2 cost. And then there's Someday in the Rain, the gate from the trial deck also that can combo off the 3/2 to burn for 1 on attack, and the 3/2 heals. Yay, the last color. You're still with me. Thank you for sticking along this far. You'll have to leave us some feedback and let me know what you think. It may be better if we split this video up into color chunks. Let me know what you think in the comments, and it'll be helpful. All right, so here we go. Nagato time. I'm excited. So this is a 00 double R. It's a global 500 assist to all alien characters, which is pretty much the blue cards in the set, and also that 1/2/1 yellow card I showed you earlier, all the way back in yellow. It also has the following ability. Pay 2, rest this card. Search your deck for up to 1 alien character, reveal it to your opponent, and put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. Alien and book are its traits, so it can't be searched out by SOS Brigade. But this card is the backbone of the alien deck, which is going to get some power up in May. I think it's really got some powerful options even just now. We don't have to wait till May to play it. I think that it's really good. It can pull out your end game for Alien. It can pull out your level 1 game if you're stuck in having not a great hand plus game. Really great card. Really interesting. Great assist. All right. The other double R for blue is also just one of the most flavorful cards ever and really, really great. And it's also part of the reason why Faded Colors did not see print, along with the other cards in the extra booster. So, Prim and Proper Nagato has the following ability. Pay 1. When this card is placed on the stage from your hand, you may pay the cost. If you do, this card gets the following ability until end of turn. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may put the top card of your clock into your waiting room. It has this second on-play ability. When this card is placed on stage from your hand, you may put all of your opponent's characters into your opponent's memory. If you do, put those characters onto separate positions of his or her stage. Has the traits Alien and Book, so kind of important, that book trait. We had some other cards with it, including the Revenge back row that had the climax. If your opponent had the anti-brainstorm, that you could pay 1, deal them a damage. So there are quite a few book traits that it could work with. This card is so much fun. You can do so many shenanigans. So you're facing Lock Horizon. They have Natsugu. He's got -4 soul in front because he had 2 Shiroes behind him. Guess what? You play this card for free, send all of their stuff to memory, pull everything back out. You put Shiroes in the front row, you throw Natsugu in the back row, and Natsugu loses his bodyguard. Natsugu is not the big wall with the -soul in front of him anymore that you have to attack because he's no longer in the middle position of center stage. And you can pay 1 and heal off a reversing Shiroe, which is very low power. This is just one of the many shenanigans that you can do with this card. This card is also going to give some Attack on Titans players headaches because, I mean, if they're running Mikasa, not so much because Mikasa can pay the cost and swap her in something else and maybe deny her on reverse heal. But at the same time, if you need to get rid of troublesome back rows that are giving like power and hex proof, if you need to get rid of walls, like you can't get over Colossal Titan, you can't get over the -soul female Titan, you know what? You just put it in the back row and you don't have to deal with it till next turn. And since a lot of those effects are climax combo effects, it kind of works out. So I think this is a really great card. I think it's going to mess with a lot of people. It's going to mess up people's stages. You're going to get rid of back rows and stuff if they don't choose to encore them. And I think it's going to give some people some headaches. And it's part of the Alien deck build. We'll get the other card in the extra booster, but it's a lot of fun. Yuki Nagato is a 1500 Alien and SOS Brigade, so she does fit in the SOS Brigade book, or in deck. She has the following ability. During your opponent's turn, this card gets 2000 power, so she's a 3500 on your opponent's turn, and she has Hand Encore. Which isn't bad if you know that you need to save a 0 to attack with because you're stuck at level 0 or they left you stranded there. This 1/0 is, until we see the extra booster, some people are probably going to end up playing this. This is a 1/0 5000 Glasses Girl Nagato. She has Alien and Glasses. Be careful with this because that means that she is not in the SOS Brigade build. She has a climax combo with this 1K1 Battle in the Information Center that has the book draw trigger. And she has, when this card attacks, if a card named battle in the information control area is in your climax area, all of your alien characters get the following ability until end of turn. Pay 1. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may pay the cost. If you do, draw a card. I think this is really flavorful if you go to level 1 first and you have some other card options on the field. I think that you can get some free pluses. Yes, they're card draws, but that's not such a bad thing in Nagato's build because there is an event there's some events we wouldn't mind drawing into. Yes, it could potentially draw into a climax, but that's, that's how draw works. So alien glasses, it can be searched out by the alien assist. If you're running a mostly alien deck, I think that that card is definitely going to be worthy of consideration until we get the extra booster. Decent. All right. The next card is also a climax combo that you'd most likely run at level 1, and I actually think it is really viable. It is a 1/1, 5,000. It's Ryoko Asakura. Alien and Weapon are the 2 traits, so she can be searched out by the assist. And will get a boost of 500 power globally from the assist. She has, when this card attacks, if a card named That's Impossible is in your climax area, until end of turn, this card gets 1,500 power on the following ability. Auto, when this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may put that character on the bottom of your opponent's deck. This card also has Hand Encore. The reason why I say that this combo is super relevant is, first off, she hits decent power levels because she combos with That's Impossible, which is a 2k1 that replaces itself in your hand for a draw and can give her an additional 2,000. Which means that just with this climax combo, before any assists, let's say you don't get your 0/0 assist in the back row, she is going to be 8,500 power. She is also going to bottom deck any of your opponent's Clock Encore characters. Because when they become reversed, your phase, your timing triggers first, you can send their Encore characters to the bottom of their deck. There are some decks that gain advantage, Nisekoi, SAO right now if they're running a Sinon, by preserving 1/0 Clock Encores on the field. If you're facing family build still, Asuna and Prison Queen can get over that. Yeah, it's going to be a close, a tight thing and power level wise, but honestly, if they don't have a counter, you're going to bottom deck their Encore. They probably weren't planning on most cases on counterbacking that up because they were planning on keeping it on the field. It also gets rid of problem cards that you can power over at level 1. No, it's not going to get rid of some soundless voice stuff, and in some cases, no, it's not going to get rid of it on Titans. But bottom decking something is really great. Oh well, they reverse you. This has a Hand Encore. The other thing to think about is that usually to save the character, because you're going to have the opportunity to set up your board, you're going to force a counter out of their hand probably earlier than they wanted to save it and prevent that ability from going off, which it's a minus to hand and it may be a minus to stock, depending on what they have to play to save it. So I actually think that for the alien build, it's going to be a really tough choice on climax combos, and I think this one is definitely worthy of consideration. It hits decent power levels. On most stages, it's going to be a 9k, and it's going to bottom deck people's Encores, and that is a way a lot of decks gain advantage, and I think that considering that in the current meta is going to be really good. Oh, and by the way, it also bottom decks Shimikazes. With the new 1/1 Hand Encore assist in Kantai, that is kind of a relevant thing because if you don't want them to get off another search, that's an option. You can also bottom deck other cards. It's, it's a chance. Yeah, they could draw back into it. Yeah, they could search it out again because it's, every deck has ways to pull it back out. But at the same time, in most cases, you put a damage back in, and in most cases, you got rid of an Encore. You're going to force them to pull it back out and waste resources. 2/1. Silent character Nagato has Alien and SOS Brigade, which is important, that all-important SOS Brigade trait. She has Change. Put this card into your waiting room. At the beginning of your Encore step, if this card is rested, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose a card named China Dressed Nagato in your waiting room and put it onto the stage position this card was on. This is an interesting change, Encore phase change, because they actually try to help you out. The card she changes into is the last rare for blue. It's Alien in Dress. China Dress Nagato is a 2/2. Swinging for 2 soul. During your opponent's turn, this card gets plus 500 for each of your other alien characters. And a full alien deck, this card is going to typically be a 9,500. You've got at least one of the 0/0 500 globals in the back row. There's also a global level assist for the alien deck Nagato. That's a 2/1 on your, and it's a global level assist because it's only good on your opponent's turn. But then she's going to be getting an extra 1,000 from that. So this rest encore phase change is terrible. Unless you're facing a really big wall deck or they're going to level 3. You know what? They're going to have to think twice before they front attack that, or in most cases, they're probably going to be crashing in against it. So it's an interesting consideration, I think, if you're running just mono alien, because we're limited in what we have to run at the moment. She also has a really expensive brainstorm. It's pay 4, reveal 4 cards from the top of your deck, and put them into your waiting room. For each alien character revealed amongst those cards, choose up to 1 level 0 or lower character in your waiting room and put them on separate positions of your stage. So if you reveal 4 alien characters, you get 4 free attackers. If you reveal 3, you get 3 free attackers. Yeah, they're probably going to crash, but you know, if you missed an opportunity to get your 0/0 assists out, if you missed an opportunity, if your hand's really hurting because of hand encoring something, you know what? This, for 4 stock, you have the chance of pulling stuff out of deck. Now, I will say the one downside is that there are some pretty great events to run in blue, and the chance of hitting those events along climaxes will dilute her brainstorm. I think if you run this card, it's probably for its changeability. I'm not sure, though. I mean, you could play it for its changeability, but I think, honestly, at level 2, you could probably just play the 2/2. But then again, on your opponent's turn, it's not really powerful. I'm sorry, on your turn, it's not very powerful. It's just a 7,500 that even level 1s, unfortunately, by today's power creep, could get close to meeting with a counter in the right spot. So, but the 2/2 does have hand encore, and it does have good defensive power, and that the traits on it are alien dress, so not a candidate for the SOS Brigade deck, but still decent. All right, on to the uncommons. So 1/0 swimsuit Haruhi and Nagato is Brigade Leader and Alien. So fits in the Brigade Leader deck, fits in the Alien deck. Has a really interesting ability that also has a change. When this card is placed on stage from your hand or by a change effect, choose one of your other characters, and that character gets the following ability until end of turn. Auto, when this card is put into your waiting room from the stage, you may return this card to its previous stage position as rest. Really good. Really great level 1 play. You can use it to save the Glasses Nagato or the 1/1 Ryoko. Its change is this combo right here. It's this 0/0 Nagato eating watermelon. She has the traits Alien and Watermelon. I don't know what other set has watermelon trait. I'd love, if you know, to put it in the comments. It's flavorful. I don't even know that it's standard viable, but it's flavorful. She has pay 1, put this card in your waiting room at the beginning of your encore step. If this card is rested, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose a card named Swimsuit Haruhi and Nagato in your waiting room and put it on the stage position that this card was in. So you can call this, you can change into this if you direct attack, side attack, front attack with this. And then you can go ahead and use this card's ability to save something else so that when it comes back to the stage. Actually, honestly, I think at level 0, your target would probably be your level reverser. But the 4,500 power is something that's going to be powered over. A lot of people are probably not going to want to run this change. I think that you'd be better off just waiting and playing this card at level 1 and using this card for its effect to save a level 1. 1/0, 5,500 vanilla, Alien in Time, Hot Springs, Nagato, and Mikuru. If you're running a blue-green deck, this is the vanilla that you're probably going to want to run. Not bad. Interesting character counter. 1,000, 1/1, Beach Volleyball, Nagato. Alien in Sports, so it does not have SOS Brigade. It has the following ability. Pay 1 when you use this card's backup. If you have a Brigade Leader character, you may pay the cost. If you do, draw a card. and it's a 1500 level 1 counter. Um, it costs 2 stock to pay for its ability, and you have to have a brigade leader, so you would pretty much have to have in an alien deck the 1/0 that is kind of got the, I'm going to call it the save effect, to have a brigade leader, or if you've splashed some brigade leaders at 0 to help fill out the build. Red-blue is definitely an option. It's definitely worthy of playtesting. I think the ability to draw a card, get a damage off your deck is great, although you might draw your next cancel too, so that's the risk you take. I spoke about this card earlier. This is a 2/1 5500 1 soul alien and music, so does not have SOS Brigade assist. It says during your opponent's turn, all of your other characters get plus X power. X is equal to 500 multiplied by that character's level. This assist is really good, but it's a defensive assist, not an on your turn assist. So, and because it lacks the SOS Brigade trait, you're probably going to run the 2/2 Mercury assist in the SOS Brigade build, whereas this one's the defensive build for Alien. And you know what? It's not bad. And it says all of your other characters, so it's global, and it's not trait restricted. It also is meant to be run in a deck with book trigger because of its second ability. When your character's trigger check reveals a climax, if that card's trigger icon is a book, you may draw a card. If you do, choose a card in your hand and put it into your waiting room. So you essentially get 2 draws, and then you can discard hand filters. So if you drew into extra climaxes, you could discard them, extra events, extra 0s you don't need. It's a hand filter before refresh if it chance hits that way. I'm not sure though. It's a good assist. It's more defensive. It's definitely in the alien build, especially when we get the extra booster because the newer level 1 combo is a book trigger. You could actually run 8 books and maximize its effect from level 2 on. It's not bad. It's a chance to draw into defensive power or some of the events that are pretty cool in the set. 2/2, 8500 2 soul, alien and book, does not have SOS Brigade. Information, integration, thought entities, interface, not intersurface, wow, forgive me. Nagato, alien book, she has auto. When this card attacks is about me, if a card named about me, I'll tell you, is in your climax area, choose up to 2 of your other characters and put them into your memory. At the beginning of your next draw phase, put those characters from your memory on 2 separate positions of your stage, and those characters get 1500 power until the end of your next turn. And about me, I'll tell you, is the climax rare in blue, and it's a +2 soul. You can just keep the +2 soul going, and you can keep the time machine going with it. You can use it to save Primp and proper Nagato 3/2 late game. Yes, +2 soul might be a little risky, but you can side attack with the +2 soul at 3, bring back stuff. Nagato won't get her on play abilities again, but you'll have a 3/2 coming back. It's interesting. I'd say that this would probably be a little stronger if it was at level 1. But right now, if you're running an alien build and just, you know, mono alien, I think that this level 2 combo is worthy of consideration because right at the moment we only have 3 and the other 2 are competing at level 1. So you can do some interesting shenanigans with this. You can choose 2 of your other characters, get them to go away, come back with power, and it's a interesting way to preserve attackers. All right. And onto the commons. This is in the trial deck. Xmas Party, Christmas Party Nagato has Alien and SOS Brigade, is just a vanilla +500 in front assist. Then there is the 001000 Alien and Japanese Close. So for the Japanese Close deck, we have Nagato and Kion's sister in Yukata. And she is also a pay 1 bond for Kion and Yukata. So if you don't want to run the 00 red Haruhi, you could also run this, so you can definitely get that card in hand very easily bond-wise. You have pay 1 bond, and I believe the 00 red one is a clock bond, so you can choose your poison. I think if you're running Japanese Close, though, I think the 00 is better, because if you have enough of those, you can pay 1 and power up something instead of paying 1 to bond. So 001000, this is Nagato's apron look. Alien, and Book. She has all of your other book characters get plus 500 power, which is surprisingly relevant considering Primp and Proper Nagato and Trouble Girl Haruhi are both book. It's a global book support. You could run it with the yellow Kyon book trait and some of the other book traits that are in the set. It powers up level 3, it powers up some level 0s. Does not power up much in between, however. Its second ability is pay 1, rest 2 of your other of your characters. If the number of your other book characters is 3 or more, draw a card. Unless you're really focused on drawing, or I'm sorry, on running as many of the book traits in the deck as possible, I think this card is going to lose its luster. It does have Alien, but even with Primp and Proper Nagato, considering that has Alien trait and you'd run the Alien back row assist, I think this probably fits best in a deck that wants to run the Haruhi and Nagato together and you kind of splash in some of the other book traits at 0. Discussed this card a little bit already. It's the change into the 1/0 that gives something the free encore effect on play. Pay 1, put this in the waiting room. Choose to put that 1/0 into play. 0/0 Vanilla, Cat Ears Nagato, has Alien and Animal. It is definitely a splashable vanilla that is probably going to see play if you're building a mostly Alien trait deck. Again, the 3000 vanillas, I can't say this enough because of their traits, are definitely viable. I will mention this, it's an exclusive to the trial deck. There is another 0/0 Nagato Alien trait character that is on play. I think it's either 2000 or 2500 power. On play gets plus 500 for each of your other Alien characters. Also a really strong level 0 and definitely worth picking up some copies of the trial deck to get for an Alien deck build. First client, Kimidori, is Alien in Student Council. She has Alarm. When this card is the top card of your clock, all of your other Alien or Student Council characters get 1000 power. So in the Alien deck, really strong. Pay 1. When this card is placed on stage from your hand, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your characters and that character gets the following ability until end of turn. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may draw a card. So 2 interesting abilities. If you're running mono aliens, it's a free 1000 power for the turn. She has the Alien trait, so she can be searched out in the Alien deck. Has a way to plus hand, but I think that, and you can stack it with the Glasses combo, because you could give this to Glasses, the Glasses Nagato rare, and then she can draw a card, and then something else bigger can draw a card. But the 2 abilities, one is alarm based and one is on play based, and it's pay 1. So, you know what? It's not bad. It's definitely consideration in the Alien build. Finally, if you're just looking for a 2/1 vanilla attacker, this has Cool Girl Nagato, which is Alien and Book, so that Book Assist does help out this card, and the Book Assist also can hopefully get a plus off of having this on the stage if you can pair it up with more than one book assist or another book trait. Cool Girl Nagato has Alien and Book, and she's an 8500 vanilla. If you're running the Alien deck, I know there was another 2/1 8500 vanilla in yellow, but this was the card I was talking about earlier in the video that you'd probably be more likely to run. Event time! So these events are really good, and they're going to be a lot of fun to play in the Alien build. Message on the bookmark is, I think, my favorite. It's a 1/1. If you do not have an Alien character, this card cannot be played from your hand. You may draw a card. If you do, choose a card in your hand and put it into your waiting room. You may also put the top card of your clock into your waiting room. Put this card in memory. So hand filters for 1, heals for 1, and then compresses by going to memory so that it doesn't get leaped. I think this is pretty cool. It filters out the hand, especially with all the draw shenanigans Nagato has. Having hand filter is important to get rid of things before refresh. It also heals. Yeah, you could be healing off damage, and that's decompressed, but you know what? It's a heal. And it's also on an event. It's pretty cool. And also with all the draw shenanigans, drawing into events in this deck, pretty awesome. Don't Leave My Side is a 2/1 event that says choose one of your characters and until end of turn that character gets 2000 power and the following ability. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may put the character on the bottom of your opponent's deck. This is a really great answer to a lot of things. They front attack with their 3-2 that they haven't really powered up that they changed into. You get to bottom deck it. Yeah, they can draw into it again. Yeah, they can search it out again. But I think this is really great. It's at level 2. Use this on the 8500 vanilla. You get to bottom deck something. Not bad at all. Gets rid of also encore characters that they've powered up. Really solid event. Now the problem is finding room for all these events. Last event in the set is a 2-0 event counter. Release of information binding. And I'm just going to throw this out here right now before I read the card's effect and let you know that this is in the trial deck. Choose one of your opponent's climax in the climax area and put it into his or her waiting room. Getting rid of level 3 climax combos again, guys. Now, I will say because it is a counter and it's reactive that they're probably going to light their climax combo at least once because a lot of climax combo abilities are on attack. Also be aware if the climax combo is with a 2k1, that character still keeps its power because the 2k1 is give a character that power till end of turn. But 1k1 stock souls, a lot of other climaxes are continuous effects, not give. So I think that that's going to be a lot stronger. This is a really great way to mess with people. They played their Akagis. Yeah, they're going to get one Akagi off, but the rest of them are going to go, aren't going to get to clock kick. And they just dumped out all their stock for it. And sometimes when the climax combo is an on reverse effect, you can definitely get rid of that on reverse. Really good counter. I think the problem with the alien deck is that you're going to run all those counters, and you're going to have to kind of choose. Play testing will show the best balance. You do have to draw into them, but the deck has a lot of draw if you're running alien. So not bad at all. I think really viable and really good. So I have all 3 of the blue climaxes. Oops, well, moving down the camera a little bit. +2 soul climax rare that combos with the 2-2 to send things to memory and come back with 1500 power. The book that combos with the glasses Nagato 1-0 to give characters that pay 1 on reverse of their battle opponent draw a card. And then That's Impossible is a 2k1 for the bottom decker 1-1 Ryoko. So I think that the alien deck is already looking strong. I think when we get the extra booster and have a couple more options, it's definitely going to be a little more viable. Finally, because they did not print serial number 71, but they wanted to keep the set at 100 cards. At the end of the number sequence, they did print a promo that has Brigade Leader and an SOS Brigade. It's a 003,000 called Curious Haruhi. The reason why it has number 104 is because the Japanese promo rare had the 104 number, and they wanted to keep them similar. It does say uncommon, however, and not PR, so it did take up that 2-1 missing World of Faded Colors uncommon slot. If it has continuous, if the character facing this has no traits, this card gets the following ability. Continuous, this card cannot frontal attack. You can side attack. Auto, when this card is frontal attacked, if the character facing this has no traits, you may return this card to your hand. Really great tech against Little Busters, especially like the 0-0 Riki, but there aren't a lot of sets, even this one, that have no traits. There's a few of them out there. But for the most part, you're probably going to run this as a 0-0 red vanilla that has Brigade Leader and SOS Brigade. It has Haruhi, okay art, has an interesting second effect. Most of the time, though, it's not going to, neither ability is going to light. So not bad, but also just not as playable. All right, so promos are off for the set. And I'm going to start off right off the bat with probably the most expensive one that's running at $15 right now. It's this 2000 Alien Dress, Wedding Dress Nagato. A box topper promo. It's pay 2 when this card is placed on stage from your hand. You may pay the cost. If you do, put the top card of your clock in your waiting room. It's a 0-0 that heals for 2. I mean, yeah, it takes up paying the cost of a level 3 right now, but right now in the alien build, we only have 1 level 3. So this is definitely worth running. That's the reason why the card's so expensive. It's a 0/0 that heals, along with the 1/1 event that heals, along with the 3/2 that has the rearranged stage effect and heals. Really, really good. It's something that you're not going to play, though, if you play it at turn 0, you're just going to play it as an attacker. You're not going to play it for its heal effect, usually. 0/0, 2000, Time and Dress, Wedding Dress Mikuru has the following ability. Put the top card of your deck into your clock. When this card is placed on stage from your hand, you may pay the cost. If you do, all of your characters get plus 1,000 power till end of turn. Yeah, you deal yourself a damage, but it doesn't cost any stock. It has time trait, so it's a time card that could fit the time deck really well. Dress is its other trait, though, but it gives 1,000 power to any of your trait characters without the trait restriction for 1 damage. It also can get you leveled up. If they strand you at 0/6, you can deal yourself a damage. And I'm sorry, 0/5, you clock, you're at 0/6. You can play this, deal yourself damage, power up everything on your board, and go from there. Combo's okay with some of the effects in the deck that want to reverse. It's even splashable in the alien build, even though it doesn't have the alien trait. Because it's a 0, it can be splashed into a lot of builds for just some power. Finally, the last box topper promo for the set is Wedding Dress Haruhi. She has Brigade Leader and Dress. She has this card continuing. This card gets plus 500 for each card in your clock. So she's 1,500 base, so the most that she's going to become is if you're sitting at 6 damage in clock, she will be a 4,500, which it's not bad. It'll take out, with a 0/0, it'll take out most level 1 reversers. And, you know, at level 0, if you're sitting at 0/6 and they stranded you, this is actually going to, with a 2k1 or something, or a 1k1, become a 5/5 level 1 vanilla. If you've got enough damage in clock. Yes, sometimes you're going to get her in hand, though, and it's going to stink because you're at, like, 1/0, and she's not going to get any power. But as a 1 and 2 of, and having the Brigade Leader trait, it's not bad. At worst, you could use the Brigade Leader trait on that card to sack it for the change into the 1/0 usual Haruhi with Kion. This is the PR from the Meister set. It's a 2/1, 7k, SOS Brigade in Japanese closed, so it fits the Japanese closed deck. It's when this card is placed from hand to your stage, this card gets plus 500 for each of your different trait, for each different trait on your characters until end of turn. Not bad. Free on play power up. The deck has so many traits that this is actually viable. I think this is stronger than the 2/2 Haruhi, so finding a ton of this card might be a little challenging because it's the Meister set promo and not a shop promo, but I'm sure some people consider trading it. Has SOS Brigade, it can be searched out in the SOS deck, not bad. Shop promo from this month is also Haruhi based. It is probably one of the most bonkers assists, but it's very well costed. It's a 1/1. Has 3 act abilities. The first is pay 2, rest this card, choose a character in your waiting room and return it to your hand, so it can salvage anything, not trait restricted. Yes, it costs 2 stock, but that might be worth it in some builds. Has an act ability, rest this card, choose one of your SOS Brigade characters, and that character gets 1,000 power till end of turn. Not bad. Pay 1 on the turn that it's played, rest this, give something 1,000, you can rest it every turn. Not bad at all. Act, pay 2, rest this card, deal 1 damage to your opponent. This damage may be canceled. It's got the SOS Brigade trait, so it can be searched out in the SOS Brigade deck by the 1/1 event, by a 2/1 usual Kion, by several of the other effects. It can be called to the field by the 2/2 Haruhi. And it's got 3 very flavorful, 3 very usable abilities. Yeah, 2 of them cost 2 stock, but then again, if you're dealing a damage or salvaging no trait-restricted character, that's actually pretty common for a 1/1. Love Live has the 1/1 Umi assist in the back row that you can pay to, rest it, and search. Yeah, that's a level assist, but this has 3 abilities that are viable pretty much most of the game, including if you just need to deal them 1 more damage or want to get a cancel off the top of the deck. So, I know this is a little long video, but that is pretty much the complete set review of Haruhi. There are some trial deck exclusive cards besides the Nagato that are available. I think there's 1 other one. But for the most part, most of the trial deck cards are in the set, and that is the collection. So, it's still very playable. You just have to double check your traits when you're deck building. I think that the alien build is going to be really strong even without the extra booster support and having to wait till May. I think that the SOS Brigade deck is going to be really great. You just have to consider traits when you're deck building. So thank you for watching. Feel free to leave us feedback on what you think and what we can do to improve these set review videos going forward. Thanks for watching.